Breaking news, Newt Gingrich's Tiffany's habit is much worse than we thought. Chris Cillizza in the Washington Post is reporting tonight that Gingrich had a second line of credit at the jeweler for as much as $1 million. That's in addition to the $500,000 line of credit that was already reported. A Gingrich spokesman says the account has a zero balance and the account has been closed. The news comes a month after disclosure forms for Gingrich's wife Callista show they had a $500,000 credit line at Tiffany's in 2005 and 2006. Meanwhile, today, with the Statue of Liberty behind him, Jon Huntsman announced his campaign for the Republican nomination for vice president. Like all vice presidential candidates, he was careful to not offend anyone and not actually say anything, no matter how many words he strung together.
What we now need is leadership that trusts in our strength. Leadership that doesn't promise Washington has all of the solutions to our problems, but rather looks to local solutions from our cities, towns, and states. Leadership that knows we need more than hope. Leadership that knows we need answers.
Joining me now, MSNBC political analyst Howard Fineman, editorial director of the Huffington Post Media Group. Howard, thanks for joining me tonight.
Hi, Lawrence.
You have been working hard for us tonight, reporting on the Gingrich implosion. What is the latest? What have you found? What's left of this campaign?
Well, not much. As you also know, I'm sure his two big fundraising employees decided to quit. And Rich Galen, who is a friend of Newt's and former press secretary, said, in his view, it's possible that the two stories are related, i.e. that the fundraisers felt they couldn't go on at a time when there was yet another demonstration from Tiffany's that Newt could borrow all the money he needed to run for president.
Yeah, fundraising is a really tough job in a campaign. It's not something I'd ever want to work on because you're kind of banging up against brick walls all the time. And this kind of information gives people reason not to contribute, which makes the thing virtually impossible.
Yeah, and of course most people around Newt or who had ever had any contact with Newt were looking for reasons not to give. To begin with, okay? So another story like the one Chris popped tonight about the $1 million line of credit, the word is that was percolating through what's left of the Newt Gingrich camp earlier today, and that could well have something to do with why his two fundraising people quit. He's got virtually nothing left in his campaign at all.
We don't have financial reports indicating how much the Gingrich campaign, how much money they might have on hand, but with your fundraisers quitting, I mean, they've got to be close to penniless around now.
No, I think there's probably a debt that they're looking at right now, which is one reason why one of many reasons why the whole rest of the staff quit the other week, because as much as they might have liked Newt and believed in him or gotten tired of him, they would like to be paid regardless, and some of them were probably worried that they weren't going to be. It's really an extraordinary thing, one misstep after another, how he makes it through to succeeding debates, let alone to the first caucuses in Iowa, I don't know.
Yeah, the next one's July 10th in Las Vegas. Can he afford the airfare?
He might have to walk, but he might want to go because Mitt Romney's not going to be there. Mitt Romney said today he wouldn't go because Mitt Romney's strategy is to hide as much as possible between now and New Hampshire.
Jon Huntsman announced what I believe is his candidate for candidacy for vice president. I tried to stay awake, Howard, through the entire thing, but it was tough listening to that speech.
Well, you had the Statue of Liberty behind you because that was an evocation, of course, of Ronald Reagan's famous kickoff in 1980. Except for the padding in the shoulders of the suit, there wasn't much similarity. One interesting thing, though, is that you alluded earlier in the show, Lawrence, to the fact that there's some sort of small cracks in the no new tax orthodoxy of the Republican Party. And it's interesting that Huntsman has said no, he will not sign the famous Grover Norquist no new taxes pledge. Mitt Romney, always a step behind and step out of phase, is going to sign it, and your man for presidential candidate on the Republican side, Tim Pawlenty, is undecided as to whether to sign it or not. That's really kind of interesting and shows that there's a slight bit of loss of gripping power in the anti-tax movement on the Republican side. It's very interesting.
Yeah, that is a very, very surprising development. And just to clarify, I am picking Tim Pawlenty to win the Republican nomination so that he will get the honor of being beaten very badly by President Barack Obama in his re-election campaign. I am not expecting a Pawlenty presidency. Howard Fineman
Just so we're
of the
clear.
Huffington Post and MSNBC, thank you very much for joining us.